everybody. Welcome to the Big Picture Manatee, and thanks for all your support as we continue to educate, engage, and inform the community here in Manatee County about topics that are important to them. So how are you guys? Hey, you guys are good today? Yeah, all right.
That's Cheri.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cheri Coryea, former Manatee County Government Administrator and a private business owner.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Misty Servia, former county commissioner, currently working in DeSoto County and also private business owner.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Reggie Bellamy, former county commissioner, and I'm the proud executive director of the Palmetto Youth Center. And where we are right now, I'm also even more proud Army veteran.
Absolutely. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Misty, for your family service. And you know, it's budget season, guys. It rolls around every year. It's weird. I just go read all that stuff and it gets hard, you know, to like all those zeros that are behind all those numbers. But today we're just going to kind of give a real brief start to everyone about like where you can find stuff, what to kind of keep an eye on. And then I know we've talked in depth about specifics that we'd like to go back and really dig into, because there's a lot of important items in there. So they've got this net budget this year of close to 1.4 billion, and we got a 5-year capital improvement plan at about 2.4 billion. And so that's a lot, right? And we want to break it all really down. So Misty, I don't know, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, right, Cheri. And you're right. Those are a lot of zeros. They're hard numbers to comprehend. So the County Commission has held their first series of budget work sessions here in June from the budget proposal required to be presented by the County Administrator. They've discussed budgets for the general fund, for the county constitutional officers like our sheriff and the clerk of the court, and the capital improvement plan, as you mentioned, Cheri. Now, for those of you that enjoy reading all of these details like we do, go to the website and check it out, because there are literally thousands of pages of budget documents on the Manatee's website. You can go to www.mymanatee.org and the Financial Management Department, and then I think you can click on the Budget Division and you'll see the FY 26-27 recommended budget. And you also should find the FY 26 through 30 recommended CIP budget. The new year budget represents a 10% growth in the tax base. Last year's growth was at 12.5%, and in 2023 it was 21.5%. Wow. So you can see there's a slight downward annual growth trend. Reggie?
There's a lot going on here. It really is. And, you know, obviously, the overall millage rate is proposed to remain the same. Last year, 6.4326. The new budget proposal sees about 131 new positions proposed for the county in general governments, 15 departments, and within the 88 programs in the following areas. So we'll just look at some of these areas and the numbers and go from there. All right, 12 from the community and veteran services, 8 from the development services, 1 from financial management. Seems like that's going to be challenging here. 7 with the information and technology, 4 from natural resources, property management with 9, public safety 33, public works 10, sports and leisure, let's have some fun. That's 20, 22, and utilities 25. Now, this reflects an investment of about 12.6 million in compensation for all of the 2,600 plus employees that are proposed. And what a compensation package from the overall standpoint. The reason there are 15 departments this year compared to the 14 last year, now this is interesting, was the creation of the Government Relations Department. That alone is a whole nother conversation. Government relations within government, well, sure, we got to get that information out there. All right, the Government Relations Department that now houses the Public Records Division. See what Public Records Request has done to Manatee County? It also houses the Economic Development Division and Lasting Manatee. Interesting.
It is interesting. It's like, what's that saying, moving chairs on the deck of the ship around? Because every year there's like a big shift and move, and you're right. I mean, there's some interesting things from a standpoint of public records, etc. So the other biggie, you know, always for people is the constitutional officers and that budget, and it does have a significant increase in this year's proposal, and mainly for the sheriff's positions. He, you know, proposing 64 new positions, and of course, you know, that's been sort of a trend, right? That's been a trend over the last several years with the increase. The cost about almost, well, it's a little over 39 million for that increase to the overall sheriff's budget. And so, you know, Misty, I know there's other things in there. We want to kind of give people sort of a general idea of what's different about this year's budget.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that our budget includes a substantial amount of money. It's $252.7 million in CDBG disaster recovery. That's a community development block grant program. That is federal money that we receive from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And it's targeted for recovery repairs from the hurricanes, you know, from Hurricane Debbie, Helene, and Milton. And that new program name is called Lasting Manatee, and it's primarily for storm hardening, restoration of infrastructure, and economic revitalization, and other mitigation efforts. So what that has shown is that they are declaring the current population at 441,095, with a projected population growth to 472,700 by the year 2035. Those numbers are just extraordinary, you guys.
Yeah, like when you're driving now, can you figure it out, everybody? That's why there's people everywhere in your way, right?
That's exactly right. So the required report to obtain approval from the feds for this money was approved by the commission on June 20th, and it's going to be submitted to HUD for review and approval before the final adoption of this new year's budget. But because this is a significant program in the budget and not recurring, when we spend, we will be providing a separate segment to break it down in the future, because, you know, when you get that big flux of money, it's easy to say we're going to pay for these positions. But what happens when that money is gone?
Yeah, so a couple things, right? Just thinking about the sheriff request and increase. I've always said this: when I call the police, I want them to come. So you all know my
Yeah.
you all know my position on that, and I'm sure there's more to come. The word hardening, right, and restoration, we kind of touched on that a little bit, but only thing that I'll say as we go into it a little bit later on down the road with the word hardening, just be reminded that we have the school district, when the storms come, a lot of times they have to close down the sites because we have all these people moving here and these people look to evacuate. So if we're going to harden, let's harden with the sense of supporting when storms come. Yes, some buildings may need to be hardened, but make sure that building is something where taxpayers can have access when the storm comes. And overall in today's, this is just touching the surface, of the budget, because there's so many areas that we're going to be able to dive deep in, and I'm sure we'll break it down. And obviously, there'll be a timeline and budget review, and the commission review reconvenes in July, on July 29th. So with that being said, I think that gives us a little window where maybe we can come back around and discuss it a little bit, prior to them reconvening. And August has chance for more review before the 2 required budget public hearings in September, and the final adoption before the new year begins on October the 1st. I would say there's a lot going on with that. Commissioner comments are important to process, and we want to also note that a couple additional things were mentioned at the end of the work sessions by the commissioners, like a review of the 131 positions, and prioritizing them potentially to skinny down. I'm interpreting that as cutting them down, and then also discussing the potential of a special set millage rate for the sheriff's budget going forward. Now that is going to create a lot of conversation about the sheriff's own millage. Look forward to having that conversation.
Yeah, it will. It will. But good stuff, right? Because you have to think about, I mean, just what with like what Misty said about the budget, at the tax base, what you were mentioning about back in 2023, it grew from the prior year, 22, by 21.5%, like a big boost there. And then what happened? It reduced to 12.5 in 2024, and then now to 10% in 2025, 26. So, I mean, those are things you got to take into consideration when you're, setting a millage. The other thing that we probably, when we talk about that a little bit more, will be like, what are the other set millage rates? That there are others. Like when you look at your tax bill, that's you look on there, you're going to see other things that have like a dedicated amount of money. Children's services tax is one of them. It's at 0.33 of a millage point. And, I can remember way back when that first was put to the voters, there was an example given of that's like a pizza for the year. It was like $15-20. And so, it seemed like you could equate more to like, I can do without one pizza in order to help abused, neglected, abandoned, and at-risk children, right? So there's got to be some way to really break this down. But I think all three of us have been involved in the good years, the bad years, and the growth years and the questionable years. So if you're looking long-term at stuff like that, and with the positions that you mentioned, Reggie, you got to really look out about the impact to the overall citizen, and are they getting what they need? And you mentioned that as well when you talked a little bit about the disaster recovery money. Is like, where's that really going to go? And so I know we're going to spend a bunch of time talking about those things individually because they're very important. It's a huge budget. It's an important year. It's in between an election year. And when you're budgeting in between election year, you're really talking about things that are happening at the moment. And so I'm looking forward to it. I know it sounds weird, but I like talking about these numbers. I like talking about the budget. I like digging into the budget, looking at different important aspects and key trends of the budget. But I think overall, there was a deal this year that the financial management department put most of the documents online in a special SharePoint site. And boy, wouldn't you guys have loved that, because instead of carrying around a big book with millions of papers in it, they could go to the budget online. That's what technology does. I know there's a big line item for technology in the budget too. And so there's pluses and minuses for that. So last comments before we close out today, because we are going to come back and talk about all these, but open it up to you guys for any budget talk to our viewers.
I just want to say, Cheri, I mean, thank you. I always have learned so much. I continue to learn so much from you and your broad-based knowledge of these county budgets. You did such a good job as county administrator, helping commissioners to understand. And so I really appreciate working with you now and having you break it down for us, because you get it. I would just say to our viewers, please don't forget to find us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Then you'll always be notified when we release a new show. Just go to the Big Picture Manatee, and while you're there, give us a like. Also know that we are now on multiple podcast platforms. So when you're in your car driving, you don't have to watch us, you can just listen.
Yeah, and ditto for the great person and the insight that Cheri brings when we start talking about the budget. And I remember drinking from that water hose and then having the ability for her to articulate and extend a different type of understanding on the allocations and the line items within the budget. And it's ongoing, it's forever evolving, and the understanding of it is ever evolving. And to have Cheri's input and insight is so informative, not just for us, but it's collective for our community. So I think that's very, very important, and it's very, very appreciated. How do we move forward? You know, if you're looking for us, find us on Facebook at the Big Picture Manatee, and at our webpage, thebigpicturemanatee.com. Let us know what other content you want to hear. I'm sure it'll be more about the sheriff's budget.
Hey, maybe we could invite him on the show.
And we would get into
Do
it and talk to you all about it. Thanks,
Let's
Sheriff.
do it. Well, hey, since you guys are talking about me thinking that I know stuff about the budget, what I do want to say to you and remind everybody out there is it's a completely different seat to be in when you're going through the budget, being the person who's proposing it and able to say, you know, this is what we can do. We can or can't do this, than it is for being a commissioner like you guys were and having to tell like a real person that's calling you up on the phone and telling you that they need something that we can or can't, you know, afford it. So, you know, I think that's what I like about the show here, guys. It's a balanced approach to all different angles of the community. And that's why we love the Big Picture Manatee. So everybody have a great rest of your week, and keep watching for new episodes relative to the budget. We're going to break down over the next several weeks so that we can be in line with the commission when they come back from their recess on July 29th. So thank you so much. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
See you next time.